Hey, Merry Christmas to all of my listeners out there. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in for this one. We got a special treat for you guys today. I know I say that probably every single episode, but being that it's the holiday season, man, I'm here to bring you guys a lot of cheer. A lot of things you might not have thought about. Maybe a ranking that somewhat revolves around Christmas. I thought about doing one around the whole holiday itself, but yours truly, Tommy Carter, gave me a great idea. Gave me some suggestions as well for this one. But we'll be ranking in today's episode the top Christmas movies. Been on a little kick here for the 1 through 5 rankings, but no, it's a fun one. It gives me a little bit more to talk about. It gives you guys a little bit more to listen to. But like I said, Christmas movies, man. There's plenty of places to start, but we're going to start with our podcast sponsor of the day. Yeah, take a guess. But today's today's podcast is brought to you by Walker's Home Services, where any job around the house will be a walk in the park. Yeah, get ready for that on the radio, folks. But Walker's Home Services. However you want to pronounce it at the end, you want to give it a little holiday cheer, go for it. But yeah, let's jump right into it. Um, Research wise, I have seen most, if not all, of these movies in their entirety. Some maybe I've seen more than others, but I have a list of roughly about 12 to 13 movies I'm going to briefly cover and then rank them. Some I have some personal experiences with, others I literally watched the other night. But jumping right in here, I'm going to start. I'm going to see if I can't go from my notes oldest to youngest. So I'm not sure. Hold on, let me do this because I did a different one. So there's a couple of different variations of some of these movies. Like I was going to do the Grinch and I was going to do the original Grinch, but let's do the Jim Carrey Grinch. So that's 2000. There are definitely some older ones on this list. For instance, not sure when the hell Wonderful Life came out. If you have seen Wonderful Life, this is the most I'm going to talk about it because that movie is straight ass. You watch it once and you never need to watch it again. It is just the epitome of an old, let's see here, A Wonderful Life. 1946. Yeah, if you've ever seen any moving pictures of 1946, they should stay in that generation. We should just not be watching them anymore. So, ranking wise, very poor for a Wonderful Life. But next oldest, I believe, would be Frosty. Frosty the Snowman. Yeah, it's a little of an animational movie. It's got a great storyline, man. If you have kids, if you're young, this is a perfect movie to throw on the TV for the children to watch. There's nothing too crazy going on with it, and frankly, it's just a good, heartfelt movie. I love me a good Frosty movie. I mean, it is sad because he melts at the end, but um, it's a high quality movie. I personally just wanted to bring it up because it is one of those classics, I would say. Everybody, if you celebrate Christmas, has watched it at some point in their life. But I classify it as a short. I know it might time wise equal out to a movie, it might even be like an hour. Um, See here, how long is the Frosty the Snowman movie? Song. I don't care about the song. How long he lives. I don't care about how long he lives. I know he drowns. How long is Frosty the Snowman? Okay, actually, I was nowhere near the amount of time. It's a 25-minute movie. With commercials, I guess you're looking at 45 minutes to 50. Definitely not a freaking movie. That is a TV show. Um, so high quality, not really, just because it is so old, but high quality in terms of a great movie for the whole family during the holiday times. Um, Moving on to what I believe would be next on this list is A Christmas Story. Though, is it Murphy? What is that little boy's name? A Christmas Story main character. Ralphie. I'm sorry. I called him Murphy, but if you haven't seen it, it is essentially a Christmas movie on if there's anything bad to happen, it's about to happen. Um, I watched the trailer as a little refresher, but Lil Ralphie asks for a airsoft gun essentially, and you're gonna shoot your eye out. He ends up shooting his eye out. It's a terrible holiday season. It does have that feel good at the end of it. Um, it's also where the fa ra 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 came from. They end up going to the Chinese restaurant and they sing them that with their duck a la mode or however you pronounce it. But it's a pretty cute story. It's got some humor in there. I really do like the comedy Christmas movies. I feel like it's entertaining yet puts you in the spirit as opposed to like a real serious one or even like the ass of a movie Wonderful Life. They just kind of are. They like exist and they're like classics. I put that in air quotes classics because they've just been watched so often for so many years. But I do like this movie. I don't think it really compares to the other ones that I have on this list. Some may beg to differ. Maybe it's just my age and me only watching it, and, while it's sort of turned that chapter of 20 plus years. But real good story. It's got a bunch of young actors in it, none that you would probably recognize, but it's a pretty cute little movie. I believe they actually came out with like a quote unquote like a remake in a way. Ralphie in his old age. I think there's got some good one-liners in there to where you can kind of recite it and it be humorful for your jokes. But yeah, not sure if it's going to make the top five here, but it is a good holiday classic movie. Moving on here is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. One of my absolute favorite movies. I mean, from the squirrel running around the house, jumping out of the tree that they had cut, to him flicking the bird, or even going Christmas shopping, like, oh, it's a little bit nipply outside as he's staring at the tits of the woman. But, he's just an absolute amazing main character. A good protagonist is what we would have learned in school. He's a good protagonist. He's someone you can get behind. You're rooting for him to have a good Christmas. I mean, all of the relatives are funny. Um, the kid himself is funny. I love the sledding scene too, where he sprays on that stuff and like goes absolutely trekking down that hill a mile a minute. Um, all of these Christmas movies, I think the objective of a Christmas movie is to yes, put you in the spirit of things, but also like it's lighthearted, humorful maybe, but it's a feel-good story. I mean, this is nothing but a feel-good story of how the family's sort of not looking forward to Christmas. It starts going poorly. The Christmas bonus ends up being a wreck, and all this other stuff go into factors, kind of like the A Christmas Story, where bad things happen and then it all ends up fine and dandy. Um, but I think the humor in this one just tops that and provides a lot of good jokes. Like even from his, I don't know, is that his brother-in-law, the one who's like in the trailer staying because they don't want to stay in his house, and he's just like in the sewer, like pumping out the shit from his car or his van, whatever. I mean, that stuff is just so funny. Emma Rose hates that movie, so I haven't gotten to watch it this year, but one of my top tier favorites. We got a handful of other ones here, a couple of them that all fall around the same time, like the Santa Claus movie. I don't know when Bad Santa was released. That was actually the movie I watched yesterday. Thank you, Tommy, for the suggestion. 2003. So 2003 would have been Bad Santa. 1994 is The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. Fred Claus was in 2007. We got Home Alone 1 and 2. That's 1990 and 1992. Elf was in 03. Polar Express 04, along with Christmas with the Cranks. So a lot of these iconic movies all fall in between, I would say, like 1985 to 2007. I feel like Fred Claus might have been like the last really good newish Christmas movie. I mean, you can't beat Vince Vaughn, man. That dude is hilarious. Not to mention, excuse me, the whole like traveling up to see my brother at the North Pole because he's Santa Claus. Like his family love them. I've watched a trailer and saw him like dancing and partying with the elves. I mean, dude, that movie is super funny. Um, couple of other classics like Polar Express, man. I don't think you can top that movie in terms of a good feel good childhood movie. I mean, I don't watch it much in my adult life, nor would I watch that if I didn't have kids, but like when that movie comes on the TV screen, you're here for one, the conductor, two, that little boy that's trying to catch that present, three, the feel good of like the bell, like believe, believe, believe. I think we all need to hear that sometimes. Um, but it makes you want to sort of pop on the train and get you a nice cup of warm hot chocolate. I absolutely love that movie, but I do think it is sort of for a specific generation. Um, Kicking it back to this is a good one, Christmas with the Cranks. If you have not seen this movie, I strongly recommend it. I one year got in a really big holiday kick and ended up like watching this one and fell in love with it. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis and Tim Allen. They are a perfect duo for this movie. Um, it's sort of a feel good. I believe they're like the only house on the block that does not want to celebrate Christmas. And let's actually get specific here. Christmas with the Cranks. So Cranks is a let's read the I don't want to oh gosh, it's trying to play the trailer for me. I'm trying to read. It's an American movie. Okay, the film tells of a couple who decided to skip Christmas one year since their daughter is away, much to chagrin of their neighbors. I don't know what the heck that word means, but the daughter decides to come home last minute, and him and the neighbors, because his daughter loves Christmas, decorate the house, make this whole big ordeal. Like she's trying to go get a ham, can't find one. It's really funny, and I do strongly recommend watching that movie as well. Um, One of my all-time favorites, but trying to get all of these in just so then you guys kind of, if you haven't seen them, you know what the you know main plot of it is. The Santa Claus, there's one, two, and three, so that is a not a franchise. I guess you could call it the Santa Claus franchise. But Tim Allen is in all three. Starts out with him being a huge Scrooge in a way, divorced, the kids coming over, and he ends up getting Santa Claus off the roof, and he becomes Santa Claus. Tim Allen's honestly, he was in the Christmas with the Cranks movie. He's one of my favorite actors, I think. He's just absolutely hilarious. And when you throw him in a Christmas movie or a Christmas comedy, he just honestly makes that movie a little bit better. And Santa Claus is by far one of the best movies. You can watch it with your kids, you could watch it as an adult. It just never gets old. The humor is there. Similarly to the Home Alone franchise. I guess that's how I'm going to refer to these movies with more than one. Home Alone 1 and 2. One being where Kevin, Macaulay Culkin, is left at home to fend for himself for Christmas. The other, him getting lost in New York. The Sticky Bandits or the Wet Bandits as the antagonists, the villains. Kevin McAllister just doing his own thing, his little boy things, trying to celebrate Christmas alone. Both of them are absolutely amazing. I think New York and the Pigeon Lady are great. Both of these movies are literally the same exact plot, but in different places. So, I mean, he even uses the recording from the TV against that dude was in the Nigel Thornberrys, the Esteban Julio Ricardo del Rosa Ramirez character. Like the little, it's a bellhop. A bellhop is what they're called. That dude is like the voice from the Nigel Thornberrys. Kevin plays the same like voice TV prank as he did on the Sticky Bandits. But another iconic film. They have two others, like a 3 and a 4 with different children actors. The third one, I've seen them both. The third one's decent. It's okay. And the fourth one, I think, was a waste of a production. But I think that kind of hurts it in my rankings as well, just because we're looking at it as Home Alone 1 and 2, which means we have to take in consideration 3 and 4. But 1 and 2 is one of those movies that I think some people literally watch every single year because it's that freaking good. But moving on to two of the other ones, I believe this should cover the rest of them. But That would be Elf with Will Ferrell. Great movie, man. It is absolutely wonderful. I think that is probably the most funny Christmas movie. Boy, he's a South Pole elf. To the putting whatever he puts in the spaghetti, like maple syrup, candy, and all that stuff. Like, it is just a humorous movie. And honestly, one of my top tier favorites. Will Ferrell in a Christmas movie seems like unheard of, but it works out really well. I know everybody has probably seen that movie, and it's probably one of your favorites. The snowball fight, like when his arms like automatic, that's like me on the softball field. So I can relate to that as well. Another classic, like I said. And then last but not least would be Bad Santa. And Bad Santa is exactly how you would assume that movie is. It is a drunk, alcoholic, cig smoking Santa Claus that he's essentially kind of homeless. He lived in a motel. Like I said, I briefly watched like probably half of it on TV, so getting through commercials, and I didn't get to the ending. I really wanted to, because like that little fat kid with the curly hair is just, I'm rooting for him, man. He tries to cut himself. Like, he loves the advent calendar, and my grandma would always give us advent calendars for Christmas. So like I was like, I was that freaking kid. I woke up in the morning wanting that piece of chocolate and knowing that there were 17 days left of Christmas. Like, that was huge. So I could relate to the little chunkster there. But he cuts his hand trying to make Bad Santa a gift. He refers to him as Santa throughout the whole movie, even though he knows it's not Santa Claus. It's just a really funny movie. Like, it's Bad Santa. So any bad thing that Santa would do, he would do it. Super funny. I enjoyed it watching it myself. I would honestly say I would never, ever, ever sit down and watch that movie with my parents. I think Elf I could watch with my mom, but I think about Christmas movies as not a movie you watch by yourself. You watch that with the family, with your significant other, with your friends. Some of these movies really only go for one sort of event, I guess you would say. Like I said, I would not watch Bad Santa with my mom. So that's a movie that I can only really watch on my own time. Funny, yes, but it's got that con of I can't watch it whenever I want to. Um, so, as you can tell, I've listed off a handful of movies here. I do want to bring up two, one of which I have not seen and one that I have. These are both newer Christmas movies. I feel like the only new Christmas movies that get introduced are like Hallmark Christmas movies. And if you've ever seen a Hallmark Christmas movie, they are all the exact same. So there really haven't been too many new movies that came out. Both of these came out in 2019, one of which is a Disney movie, and then the other is with the police officer from Stranger Things. It's called Violent Night. I think it's just like a movie of Santa kind of kicking ass and taking names. Have not seen it, but Noel was a movie based on Santa's sister. Santa decides to take the year off or retire. He ends up going to like a hippie commune in Phoenix or California and doesn't want to be Santa. And the whole premises is this Santa's sister, Noel, trying to find him and spread Christmas cheer and make this all a wonderful time because, everybody loves Santa and he needs to love himself too. Not a terrible movie, but definitely not a great movie. Why I bring up these two movies and the fact that we don't come out with any new Christmas movies is because like they're just terrible. No one knows how to make a good Christmas movie unless you are, in that 1990 to 2007 range. There's no need to make any more. They're all going to be complete trash, so please don't try. But I think it's important to note and talk about just like how influential these old Christmas movies are. They're so good, they're so iconic, and they're so funny that we watch them from where they were released to 25 years down the road. We watch them every single Christmas. So when I mosey on into my ranking here, you're going to realize that a lot of these are old movies, some in which I wasn't even born for the release, but they're that good that they're on my top five ranking. Um, let me see here. Another thing to note is too the Grinch. So the Grinch has a handful of different movies, or How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I want. I'm just putting in the ranking the Jim Carrey one, as I mentioned earlier in the pod. But I think it's controversial how this one was. There was an original movie, which was the animation movie, and then there was a Jim Carrey one, and it's such a mixed 50-50 of who likes which one. And there's a lot of time in between. Like the animation one came out in 1966, and then the other one came out in, I think I said 2000. Um, Jim Carrey, 2000. Yeah. So big difference in times, but people actually, some do prefer the new one. Emma Rose prefers the new one over the animated one. So I will be adding into my sort of internal ranking how I'm viewing these from only How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey. Everybody loves Jim Carrey. It makes more sense to do that one instead of the animation, especially since I classified Frosty as a short. We will classify the animated How the Grinch Stole Christmas as a short as well. So, to review before I give you my rankings, we had the option of 1 to 5, 1 being the best Christmas movie, 5 being not my least, but actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's do 1 being my favorite, 2 being my second favorite, 3 being the middle, and then 4 being not the best, to 5 being the absolute worst. 5, this is easy. A Wonderful Life. Why the hell does anyone continue to watch that movie unless you were from around that time period? I mean, that's like Great Depression type movie. Um, so that's 5. Absolute trash of a Christmas movie. Number 4, I would say. Oh gosh, this is difficult. I'm going Bad Santa. Unpopular putting it at the 4 just based on how I did this ranking, but 4 would be Bad Santa. It is funny. I did struggle to watch it slash stay into watching it. It was a little bit difficult when it wasn't funny. It was just like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I watching this? And I also can't watch it whenever I want. So that's going to take the number 4 ranking. I think that makes sense. Number 3 is going to be that right in the middle movie. And I think I'm going to go with Elf with Will Ferrell. You can kind of watch it with your family. You kind of can. It's absolutely hilarious. I can watch it all year round. Honestly, you could. But you can watch it every single year until you no longer celebrate Christmas. So I'm putting 3 at Elf, being that middle tier movie. And then my top 2, number 2 would be National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So many good one-liner quotes come out of that movie. It's utterly insane. It's just a classic, man. The protagonist is the best. I think he might be the best Christmas actor on this list, aside from Tim Allen. But he's a high quality actor, which brings me to my number 1. Shout out Tim Allen. He and the Santa Claus franchise. Every single one of those movies, they knocked it out of the park. So the whole franchise, I would give it to the number 1. The first movie is number 1. The whole franchise itself falls into this number 1 ranking. But the Santa Claus with Tim Allen is going to take the cake, man. I really do encourage you guys to watch all 5 of these, just to sort of see how they rank in your own ranking. But for me, we're going with 1 Santa Claus, 2 National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, 3 Elf, 4 Bad Santa, and to top it off with the worst Christmas movie ever made at 5, A Wonderful Life. That's going to conclude the ranking there. I feel like these podcasts always come to a really quick end just because you do the ranking and you're like, what else do I talk about? But for this holiday edition, I want you all to go watch one of these movies out of all the ones I watched. Watch one of these movies. Tell me where you would rank it in my 1 through 5 ranking. So you can either push a couple down in the list if you have a new number 1, or you could push a couple up and add it to the very end at the worst ever movie. But I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on these. I know you've seen most of them, but go spend some time with your families. It is Christmas after all. I hope you guys got what you wanted. I will not be giving you any gifts other than the gift of this wonderful podcast. Maybe even gifting some of you guys the opportunity to guest star on it. But Again, gotta take the time to thank you all for tuning in. It's been a pleasure on this Christmas holiday episode. I look forward to giving you all the next one. I'm in the works of getting another guest on here. It's going to be another sports one with this guy, but he really knows what he's talking about. High quality guest, know him from college. And yeah, I look forward to keep giving you guys content, but have a great Christmas, and I will see you all in the next one.